Welcome to NBA basketball. This is 2K Sports bringing it to you live. The NBA regular season tips off. It's the Los Angeles Lakers going up against the New Orleans Pelicans. See you later.
New Orleans, land of the Pelicans, in a fine Western Conference battle at the New Orleans Arena. 2K Sports brings you Friday night NBA action. This is Kevin Harlan with Clark Kellogg and Steve Kerr. On the sideline tonight, Doris Burke. Now a chance to check out tonight's starting lineups. A factor in every game, Steve Nash will be on display.
Well, of course, anytime you talk about Nash, his outstanding court vision and creative passing is the first thing that comes to mind. But, of course, he's also one of the best shooters the game has ever seen.
Steve, you mentioned the creativity he brings. Despite the flair, he's really quite fundamentally sound. He's excellent with his decision-making and understanding of how to create scoring opportunities for him and his team.
This game marks the end of a road trip for the Lakers. They're looking to snag one here before heading home. A great start to the season for them, notching 3 wins to tip it off.
Looking at the Lakers, they just sort of hung around. I mean, they're not among the elite teams, but they're not that far off the pace either.
Well, I think they're satisfied, Clark, with where they are right now because they're in decent position, as they move forward. And this is all about just surviving the marathon in the NBA. It's such a long season. Well, what you love about Drew Holiday is he's strong body, his size at the point guard position. He's about 6'4". Still very young, but an all-star last year. I think he's only going to get better.
Let's catch up with Doris from the sideline.
Well, Kevin, I had a chance to talk with head coach Monty Williams. One player he said he's worried about in this game is Pau Gasol. He said with his length and touch, it's really hard to bother that shot. We're going to try to be physical with him, body him up early, and deny him position. And guys, that's what a lot of teams try with Gasol. Force him to really battle through contact. We'll see how it works.
Thank you, Doris. Now here is Holiday after Eric Gordon's miss, and he's able to get it back. And Kobe Bryant gets the whistle that time. That is his first foul of the game. And just about a minute into the first quarter. Holiday inside the line, misses off the left iron.
And, you know, Drew Holiday, guys, in Philly is called by some people the Drew. But he still has work to do. I like his talent and his demeanor. He's developing as both a scorer and a playmaker, which is tough for a young player to balance those two skills. But I think he's got a chance to be special. You know, offensively last season, guys, the Lakers just never seemed to be able to get out of their own way. I mean, they had the worst turnover ratio in the league, and they really struggled to take care of the ball. And even when they got up a shot, a lot of them were questionable shots. They shot the third most threes in the league, but were in the bottom half of the league in percentage.
Davis setting the pick for Evans. Gordon dishes to Evans. The feed to Holiday. Shot clock at 6. Smith the pass to Holiday. And he jams it with authority. Tremendous stuff from a guy Clark we think more of for his passing.
Yeah, but he's got tremendous leaping ability and a surplus supply, too.
Well, that's a great aggressive move and 2 big points, too.
And Young kicks to Kobe. 3-pointer. They get it again. Gasol. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give them 2 chances at the free throw line here.
And the defense looking to protect the rim at all costs.
Yeah, I like that. A foul to save the layup. Make him earn it at the line.
And going back to the Lakers' offensive troubles last season, the worst free throw percentage, Steve, in the NBA.
And obviously that's attributed directly to Dwight Howard. I mean, because the Lakers also led the league in free throw attempts. So Howard was getting hacked. He really couldn't get it going. He made about half his free throws for the season. And that just really carried over into the team's performance.
He's perfect from the line this time.
You know, there were high hopes for New Orleans last season, but after a slow start and injuries, they quickly fell out of the race. And you look back at the young players they played, and you can see why they struggled, but perhaps down the road it might serve them well.
Now here is Holiday. He's coming off a 13-point game against Memphis, and it's sent back by Kobe. And that's out of bounds. New Orleans will retain possession. And just under 2.5 minutes elapsed here in the first. And it's Smith missing. As you said, Clark, with New Orleans, they got a chance to look at a lot of different players and figure some things out. Steve, with some of the early injuries, they found that Vasquez could be a tremendous point guard for him.
And then what they do, they went ahead and traded him to Sacramento, Kevin. But look, I like the direction that they decided to go with. I mean, they used Vasquez as an asset. They added Tyreek Evans, Drew Holiday. They have some good young talent on that roster now.
And the Lakers making a change here. Hill's checked in.
You know, I thought it really worked out well. The 76ers gave Holiday that big extension prior to last season. He rewarded them with an all-star year. And, of course, then he was eventually moved on to the Pelicans in a draft day deal. But a lot of value in Drew Holiday.
He misses the free throw. And going back to Holiday, rewarding the Sixers with an all-star season, and Clark still young as well.
I like what I've seen from this young man. He'll continue to improve. I like that he was more aggressive using his size and getting to the rim, increased his free throw attempts. He's got to learn to continue to minimize those turnovers and get outside of the top 2 in the league in most turnovers committed. That's something that I'm sure he'll be locked into getting better at. And, you know, for the Lakers last season, a lot of turmoil. And you think about the coaching change, but it wasn't just that. It was a whole system change as well. And the front office felt the Princeton offense they started using wasn't working out. So they were in a state of flux all season long.
Now Holiday following the three-point attempt by Kobe Bryant. And it's Gordon penetrating. And a foul called on the shot. Got him on the way up that time, so he'll shoot 2 right here. And going back to the Princeton offense that Clark mentioned, Steve, tell us about that offense and why do you think it didn't work out?
Well, they only gave it 5 games, Kevin. I mean, Mike Brown was 1-4 when he got fired, and that's impossible to install an offense and expect it to work that quickly. So, I mean, I think the offense would have been fine if they had given it time and given Mike Brown some time to install it.
Wesley Johnson's checked in for Los Angeles. Jody Meeks comes in for Kobe. He hits both from the stripe.
Young teams, guys, tend to get run over in the Western Conference, and the Pelicans were a young team last year, and guess what? They got run over. In a conference where everybody needs to be tough to even think about the playoffs, New Orleans really was overmatched.
Blocked. Outside Gordon. For 3. Good on the shot. Gordon's got 5 now.
That bounce pass got him the ball in rhythm. Nice play.
Lakers trailed by 5. And Clark, as you said, with the Pelicans last year in their final year as the Hornets, the West just ate them alive as they put up a 15-37 record, Steve, against the rest of the conference.
And it wasn't just any one division. It was every division in the West. But look, the conference was loaded. The Pelicans, or at least I should say the Hornets, at the time were a young team. They weren't going anywhere, not enough talent. But they're on the rise now. They've added some significant talent.
Gordon with another miss.
Really good offensive execution. Nice pick, just couldn't get the shot to go.
Boy, you love to see that as a basketball purist. Guy setting a good screen and then getting the shot opportunity.
Here's Sacre. Nice D from Ryan Anderson.
Well defended, and he's not someone who responds well to that kind of defensive pressure. Yeah, they're going to need some help there defensively. That matchup is going to be a tough one to deal with.
Clark, they've been looking out of sync offensively.
You know what? A basket here would do a lot for their confidence.
Back to Johnson, trying to get back on track. And again, the Lakers no good. With 1 on the clock. And that does it for the first quarter. New Orleans on top. They lead by 7. Stay with us as we get set to bring you the second quarter right after this.
Tune in Monday, November 11th. Michael Conley and the Memphis Grizzlies go up against Paul George and the Indiana Pacers. Live from Indianapolis. Be there.
Now the second quarter getting ready to start up. Guys, what stands out to you from the Pelicans in this one?
Yeah, this team is on the same page, no question. They're right where they need to be offensively.
And they're hitting their scores with on-time and on-target passes, too. That's fun to watch.
And a chance here presented by Gatorade to see who's on the floor. All fueled up and ready to go for the start of the second quarter. So for New Orleans right now, we've got Holiday. Withy is out there with Aminu. Then there's Austin Rivers. And it's Miller in at the 3 slot. Last game for the Lakers, they picked up the W against the Rockets in Houston.
And they did just what you have to do as a road team, as they never allowed any momentum to build up against them. Seemed like every time they took a punch, they had a... Oh, my goodness. What a huge play.
Talk about putting something extra on it. That dunk was way over the top.
Close game or not, Clark, he's going to finish firm when he gets the space.
Still, I mean, it's startling that he'd even try that right now.
Rivers kicks to Miller. Rivers, 6 on the shot clock. Blake dishes to Farmar. Pass to Hill. Kicks it to Blake. Lakers working the ball around now. The 3 from Johnson. And Johnson missing again.
You know, the hope was that a change of scenery and a chance to run up and down the wings would be just what was needed to get Wesley Johnson going in the NBA, but it just didn't happen for him last season.
Holiday gets the bucket. And we're about 2 minutes into the second quarter here. Here's Farmar. And the pass to Blake. The dish to Farmar. He feeds it to Hill. And off the left side of the rim, and it swirls in for him. Hill's got his first basket. And for Wes Johnson, the 4th overall pick back in 2010 out of Syracuse, he just hasn't been able, Steve, to break through.
Yeah, you wonder why, because he's got great size and athleticism, beautiful shooting stroke, and yet the shooting numbers just aren't there. I thought he would be better coming into this league, but we'll see if he's able to develop and find a niche somewhere.
Some changes for the Lakers. Chris Kaman has checked in for Robert Sacco. Gasol comes in for Jordan Hill. And Nick Young is subbed in for Wesley Johnson. Quarter 2 and just under 2.5 minutes gone by. And the officials call a traveling violation.
Well, let's take a look at where New Orleans ended up rank-wise in the league last year, Kevin. 8th in free throw percentage, 11th in blocks. And they were in the top half of the league shooting the ball from deep. Average to pedestrian, but still fairly effective from there.
And this is a good shooting team, Clark. It really shows in their free throw percentage. You mentioned they were in the top 10 in terms of free throw percentage as a team last year. I think it's important for this club to really attack offensively. When they do get to the line, they tend to knock down their free throws, and those easy points go a long way. Well, since the new CBA of the league has made the luxury tax much more punitive, but certainly the Lakers blessed with the financial wherewithal to be a tax-paying team. The problem is it can hurt your flexibility under the new rules just to make deals, and that's going to be the challenge for LA.
The free throw drops for Rivers. Well, you talk about the huge fan base for the Lakers, Clark, one of the marquee franchises certainly in the entire NBA.
I would even stretch that to all of sports, Kevin. The market and their finances clearly have helped them gain that stature, but you can't shortchange the organization, the people making the decisions. They've been a winner for a long time, and that's been the magic ingredient that's attracted fans, players, sponsors, the full package.
Kaman passes to Young. He dishes it to Farmar. Blake feeds it to Gasol. Clock at 6. Young outside from downtown. Rebound by Smith. For the New Orleans Pelicans, their last game a loss to the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it seemed to me their three-point shooting was their own worst enemy in that game, Clark. I mean, even their wide-open looks weren't falling.
Yeah, and I'm sure when they think back on that game, Steve, their main regret is going to be that they didn't get away from the three-point shot early on. They kept going to it. He got there late, but you do have to like the aggressiveness to go after the block. But that one's going to count.
And you hear the crowd kind of murmuring. I don't think they agreed with the officials on that one.
Steve, I tell you what, they're really letting them have it.
The Pelicans making a switch here. Holiday's checked in.
You know, it seems to me Nick Young is a perfect guy to have coming off the bench because he's a volume shooter and scorer who can get hot in a hurry. But I think his best role is to play him kind of in a Jamal Crawford type role.
So timeout called here, the first for Los Angeles. Going back back to Nick Young, Clark, mostly a score.
He sure is, Kevin, an athletic 6'7" wing. I don't think there's any reason he can't be a plus rebounder and defender, but it's clear that his focus primarily has been on the offensive end.
Here are the top distributors from last season. These guys always seem to find the open man. Drew Holiday fourth.
And they made their teammates better, too, because they're willing to give the ball up. They're interested in getting other people's shots and did it in spectacular fashion, too.
1:04 left in the first half of the game. Pass to Kamen. He kicks to Farmar. 6 to shoot. And the Lakers get it back. Shots good from Young.
Boy, he crashed the boards with purpose right there. Well-deserved second chance points for him.
There's 39 seconds left to play in the first half. And Holiday kicks to Roberts. That 3 off the mark. Lakers have gone 6 of 9 in the second quarter. Some good work from the field. Dishes it to Blake. A three-pointer is right on target. And it's a 3-point Los Angeles lead. The Pelicans have gone 2 of 6 in the field in the second quarter so far. Puts one up from 19. Rebounded by Farmar.
That's not a sight you see very often. I mean, he has a great feel for that jump shot, especially when he's open.
And a tight game here as we end the first half. Lakers lead by 3. We'll see you after halftime for the beginning of the third quarter.
Now, presented by Sprint.
The weekend is finally upon us, and on this Friday night, it's time for the halftime show. The Lakers have been battling. Starting off on the right foot this young season, they're definitely playing well. Nick Young has been productive. At the break, 7 points, and also has been a factor with his rebounding. And giving it their all, the New Orleans Pelicans. Getting to the line has yielded them points. It's also put their opponents into foul trouble early. Some great work there by Drew Holiday. He's got 7 points and some nice plays offensively, getting the assists going. Now let's check out the other games still in progress. It's a close game for the Suns. They're going up against the Denver Nuggets. Second half of basketball just getting started for them. And another one also in progress. The Boston Celtics are trailing Orlando out in Orlando. They're 6 points behind with some work to do. And to look now at the rest of the action from around the NBA. A tight one for the Knicks up against the Charlotte Bobcats. Some good action there in the third, and we still got a close ball game. And that's all we have for you here in the studio. Now let's send it on back to Kevin Harlan, Steve Kerr, Clark Kellogg, and Doris Burke for the second half of play.
The Sprint Halftime Report, presented by Sprint.
And it's been a back-and-forth game so far with no ground given through the first half. Third quarter starting here now. One of the great stories here, Nick Young getting it done today.
Yeah, and you know the numbers aren't that gaudy when you look at the box score. It's more about his energy and his impact.
You know, sometimes the stats can be misleading, but he certainly has been a big factor.
And on the floor for Mike D'Antoni starting the second half. Nash and Bryant in the backcourt. Inside the 7-footers, Gasol and Kamen. And it's Young in at the small forward.
Pelicans last season were dead last in steals, guys, and you would think with a defensive anchor like Anthony Davis inside, they'd feel more comfortable pressuring the passing lanes, but just didn't seem to be the case for him.
Gordon dishes to Davis. It counts, and the foul. That's on Nick Young.
Good defense, but gotta love the finish with the finger roll over the top.
And Clark, as you said, with the then Hornets, now Pelicans, last in the league a year ago in steals per game. And Steve, overall defensively, they just struggled mightily.
Yeah, third worst defense in the league last year. They allowed a lot of open threes on the perimeter. Some of that is just, you know, the young team and going through the growing pains. But I think, you know, with the shot blockers inside, you have to apply more pressure on the perimeter. And that's why they went out and got some of the guys they did.
Let's go now to the sideline and catch up with Doris Burke. Hey, Doris.
Hey, Kevin. Jordan Farmar is back in the NBA after playing last season in Turkey. He's making about a third of what he could earn overseas, but he said, quote, "This is the only situation I would have taken a minimum deal with. I miss my family, I miss being home, and ultimately, I miss being a Laker." He's an LA native,
is a winner. No doubt about that. Thank you, Doris.
Nothing but money for him to start the half. They've made all 3 of their shot attempts. You know, for Pau Gasol, calling last year a rough year might be an understatement. He fought off an injury and tried to find a role on a team that was in transition. A year like that can really take a lot out of a guy.
Now a timeout called by New Orleans. And Steve, for Pau Gasol, he dealt with knee tendonitis from the first day of the season, then a concussion, torn plantar fascia. I mean, he just had one setback, it seemed, health-wise after another.
It was just that kind of season, which symbolized the fate of his Lakers, too. They just never seemed to get it going until it was too late. But, you know, with Gasol, we're talking about a guy who's remained effective for a long time in his career. And when you have that kind of skill level, I think your game can translate as you get older.
And the basket by Gordon.
The defense sagged off, and, you know, he did not hesitate to rise up and bury that three.
Kobe with it. He's got 5. Young outside. That's good. And it's Kobe with the assist. Young's got 8 here in the quarter.
They're getting a bunch of their points outside of the paint. 3 of their last 5 buckets are from three-point range.
But the defense isn't making them earn it. I mean, those shots have just come on easy, open looks.
Holiday, the pass to Evans. They get it back. Smith came in with the defensive effort.
Now, slight advantage for them in the rebound category. They've got to continue their work on the glass.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I mean, they're on the right side of the ledger, and that is all that matters to them right now with the lead they have.
Pelicans trailed by 7. And Holiday kicks to Evans. The feather touch on the finger roll. Beautiful. Evans has got his first basket of the night.
You know, something we're seeing less and less of these days, that little finger roll.
Pelicans ended up being the name that New Orleans chose when it was all over. And I like the new look uniforms, but they had some other options as well that sounded pretty good to me. How about the brass? Because it gives nod to the music that New Orleans has popularized. And a look here at how the Lakers ranked in the NBA last season. 4th in rebounding, 6th in scoring. And they were a top 10 team in field goal shooting. Not bad for a team that's got an awful lot of young, talented players.
And this is a team that really relied most heavily on the rebounding numbers that you talked about. I mean, at top 5, they're a team that likes to attack the lane at both ends of the floor, really control the glass on defense and try to pound you inside with the offensive boards.
Jordan Hill, he's checked in for the Lakers. Kaman kicks to Young. And again, the Lakers, no good. Well, definitely a nice sounding name. Other options were the Swamp Dogs, the Bull Sharks, the Mosquitoes. You know, Steve, all in all, you have to think they went the right way with the Pelicans.
I don't know. My personal favorite was the Rougarou. I don't even know what that means, but that was in the mix. Would have puzzled a lot of other people around the country besides me, but better than Mosquitoes, that's for sure. Pelicans was probably the right way to go.
Pau Gasol's checked in for Chris Kaman. For 3, Gordon. It's good. The assist that time from Smith. And 11 points for Eric Gordon.
Nice play there on that inbounds play, and it paid off with the 3.
Nash against Holiday. It's Nash with the drive, and that one's good. Nash has got his first points in this one.
And you look at the story defensively in this game. I mean, they've gone backwards in the second half. A little too casual for me. It's caution. They're paying for it. Another season and another drop in the numbers from Tyreke Evans, including his minutes. But if you look at his percentages, it was the most efficient scoring of his career so far. A lot has been said about him slumping since his historic 25-5 rookie season, but fans should be encouraged by how he played.
And that one falls for Evans. And for Tyreke Evans, a player who's had the ball in his hands his whole life, it's had to, be a tough adjustment, learning to play off the ball.
Yeah, I think that's been the big challenge. And he's not a great shooter, so players who are used to handling the ball and don't shoot particularly well, now all of a sudden it's a really big adjustment trying to figure out that new position. Well, you look at the Lakers' struggles last season, I think it surprised most of us. Some of it was injuries, part of it was just a lack of production off the bench, then there was the inconsistency of the coaching and just the number of different people who were on that bench. So difficult season for the Lakers.
Just 2 seconds between shot clock and game clock. Smith with a screen on Young. He used that pick to get in close. And that's now 6 points for Tyreke Evans.
That's the kind of aggressive and assertive play they need as we get closer and closer to crunch time.
No question. Pound it into the painted area and continue to put pressure on that defense.
1 second left, and he drew the blocking foul. He'll go to the line for 2. The Pelicans have knocked down 8 of 9 free throw attempts. I'd say those numbers read pretty well. And that one falls for Evans. Big group substitution here for the Lakers. And so he hits both. We're at the end of the third, and we've still got a close one. Los Angeles on top. They're up by 1. We're going to step aside for just a second, but join us right back here for the start of the 4th quarter. Next.
On tap next Monday, November 11th. Kyrie Irving and the Cleveland Cavaliers take on Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls. A contest in the Central Division. Big-time hoops coming your way.
Thanks for joining us again as we get set for the 4th quarter. A terrific game so far. They've got Al-Farouq Aminu. Ryan Roberts out there with Anthony Morrow. Then it's Anthony Davis. And it's Evans in at the small forward position. So that's the group out there for New Orleans.
You know, Kevin, he never gives up on a play. That's what I love about him. He just is one of those guys who will bring effort and energy the entire 48 minutes.
And you've also got to love what a forceful low-post defender he is. If he blocks one of your shots, you remember it. He sends them into the stands to make a point.
And let's quickly check out the scoring breakdown here for the Pelicans.
Guys, they've done a nice job of drawing countless fouls in this game, and as a result, they've gotten a ton of points at the line.
And that's helped with their passing game, too, because they're getting a lot of assists by sharing the ball and moving it.
And it's Gordon missing. The Lakers trail. And going against New Orleans, their first meeting of the year.
Well, they were unbeaten against this opponent last season. Not surprising, considering where they both finished in the standings.
Holiday dishes to Gordon. Back to Holiday. Outside, Davis. 6 on the shot clock. He passes to Holiday. And it comes off the front of the rim. Quickly going back to what Steve just said, they brushed this team aside easily last year. Maybe, Clark, their favorite opponent to face.
Well, I think that probably was the case. I mean, they made the most of their opportunities against a team that really struggled. They had the upper hand clearly.
Aminu. Gordon up on top. Nash with the block. Young outside. Nash the pass to Keenan. Nice ball movement here by the Lakers. Here's Kobe. And he was fouled on the way up. 2 free throws now for him.
You know, one of the things with Kobe is that he's gotten a lot more blunt and honest with his remarks. You see it on Twitter, you see it in his post-game interviews. I mean, he is not shy when it comes to really critiquing other teams and players in this league.
And he makes the first. Well, as you said with Kobe, he seems more comfortable saying what's ever on his mind now, and that's gotten him in some questionable situations, Clark, with his teammates.
Well, it is a gray area when you talk about, actually, there's a pretty strict policy on tweeting or engaging in social media during games. But you do like the fact that Kobe is stretching out a little bit in that regard. You don't always agree with what he says, but I think he backs up a lot of his opinions.
He knows the game.
Yes, he does.
The guy is as smart as they come on the floor.
No question.
Gordon kicks to Holiday. Back to Gordon. And the shot is good. And the Pelicans lead by 2.
Took advantage of some shoddy defense there. They've got to at least get a finger on it.
Outside, Kobe. The kick out to Young to take the lead. Rebound by Smith. Smith's got 4 rebounds in this game. Holiday with it. Guarded now by Nash. Evans attacking. That's good. Evans has got 10 points in just the second half.
They've got to continue to put pressure on the defense by probing inside. That's what's really working for them.
And when you're doing the job they are inside, it takes pressure off the perimeter guys.
Los Angeles calls timeout.
He's been aggressive looking for a shot, but without much success. Might be time for him to take a step back and look to help the team in other ways.
Doris Burke has some information for us. Doris?
Thank you, Kevin. I was able to listen in on what Mike D'Antoni had to say to his team. He told his players, guys, we're letting opportunities slip away in transition. Let's push it up the floor, look to score some points in early offense. Kevin, can they pick up the tempo?
3rd minute of action now gone here in the 4th. Gasol dishes to Kobe. Feeds away. And again, the Lakers no good. New Orleans leading by 4. Gordon with it. Picked up by Kobe. Holiday attacking. Smooth as silk on the finger roll.
3 consecutive baskets have come right at the rim. The defense had better start buckling down and tightening up.
Yeah, they're getting exposed right now.
Back to Kaman. Working on Smith. Fires from 14. Here's Gasol. And he throws it down hard with one hand.
Well, I tell you, that's outstanding determination to track that rebound down and fight his way to the bucket for the throwdown.
Clark, that is the effort they're going to need for the rest of this game.
And not just on the offensive glass, Kevin, but all over the floor.
Now a timeout called by New Orleans. They're up by 4. 1:27 left in the 4th quarter. .27 left to play in the final quarter. And stolen by Nash. And it's the Lakers on the break. Nash has got the ball. Holiday with the block. They get it back. Gets it to go. 1:03 left in the 4th quarter of this one. Gives him the lead pass, and that's out of bounds. New Orleans will retain possession. And it's the Pelicans with the ball. So far in the 4th quarter, they've allowed just 6 points. Evans kicks to Davis. And the shot counts. He's fouled, and it's a chance for a 3-point play.
Ooh, a pressure basket right there.
Now that's coming through in the clutch.
At the line for your Pelicans, Anthony Davis.
They're going for the throat now. A few more trips like that one, and we might be able to put this one in the books.
Timeout called the Lakers. They trail by 5. There's 40. There's 45 seconds left to play here in the 4th. Young, covered by Evans. And that'll be the Lakers as it goes out of bounds. Lakers retain possession. Here's Gasol. Passes it to Nash. Outside, Kobe. Young. The 3 won't fall.
I wonder if switching baskets really threw him off. I mean, because he can't get anything to fall this half.
Good on the first, and that increases their lead to 6. So he gets them both, and it's a 7-point game.
He adds to their lead with a couple of solid free throws. No way you can come back from this deficit.
Just not enough time left on the clock.
There's 18 seconds left here in the fourth quarter. And now an intentional foul. They need the ball back as soon as possible.
Yeah, no question, the right call at this point. You can't let them just dribble it out.
That's right. I mean, you got to send them to the line and hope for a few misses.
So the first one drops, and that puts them up by 5. Second one is good. Being both at the line, and it's a 6-point ball game. Los Angeles calls timeout. They're losing by 6. 17 seconds left in the fourth. Guys, what do you think?
I think they have to go for a 3 right now, don't you, Clark?
Yeah, I don't think they have any choice but to go for the 3, Steve.
Pulls from the top of the key, and Davis pulls it down. Here's Holiday, and now we've got the intentional foul. 2 shots. First free throw is good, and that makes it a 7-point lead. And so both free throws are good, and it's an 8-point game. Here's Farmar. Off target from 3-point range.
Tough 3-point try there with a hand in his face.
Boy, you'd be lucky to make that one against great defense.
So we see the Pelicans get the win here. It was a solid win, Clark.
Yeah, it was, and I think it came down to will more than skill. They went out and got this one.
And that about wraps it up for Clark Kellogg, Steve Kerr, and Doris Burke. This is Kevin Harlan thanking you for watching the NBA presented by 2K Sports.